Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at Hasbro's Overwatch Ultimate's REINHARDT figure. And REINHARDT, if you aren't familiar, is just a giant, complete disproportionate mess of a character in the best way possible. He's about the coolest design they have on Overwatch, and Hasbro got the overall look of it pretty good. It's pretty good overall for the aesthetic. There are definitely some issues we're going to have to talk about, but I don't know. This line so far has been pretty successful as far as I'm concerned. I haven't reviewed all of them. I probably won't review all of them because I'm not actually collecting the line. In fact, I don't have any of them other than this one at this point. So, I don't know. I can't really show you comparisons with those, but since they are 1/12 scale Hasbro figures, I can show you comparisons with Marvel Legends, and that should be helpful enough. So, this guy's kind of cool and kind of bad at the same time. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about to the top of his head, including his little horn thingy, about 21 centimeters, a little bit shorter if you don't include that, of course, which puts him at just about 8 1/4 inches. Well, I don't think that's big enough. Now, he is very heavy. He is definitely chunky, and that's the way he's supposed to look. And I haven't played Overwatch in forever for reasons, but here he is up against your average Marvel Legends, which is the same scale that the Overwatch figures are. REINHARDT's supposed to be a lot bigger than that, I believe. I'll check some images before I publish this and post a reference so you guys can see. But he's definitely underscaled. They skewed to the middle, which is not uncommon for these kind of figures. But his whole thing is being huge, and while they got the shape right, it's definitely not as substantial as I was kind of hoping he was. I think I paid like $55 for this, and I don't know. He's not much more substantial than like a Build-A-Figure from Hasbro, so I don't know how I feel about that. But that aside, aesthetically speaking, they did a pretty good job. We do have a lot of silver, molded silver on here, which catches the light nicely. Maybe not as much as a nice painted silver, but it's definitely good enough. We do have some kind of matte gunmetal grayish colors on there, which are good. The yellow and red paint jobs are pretty clean. The numbering on him's pretty clean. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. It's a lot of molded plastic, but he is wearing just a lot of silver armor in the game, so I think that's fair. So I like it. I think aesthetically speaking, it's pretty darn good. They got the right balance and everything, so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's pretty basic, but that's what it's supposed to be. And even the yellow, it's not great like for the eyes, but eye place, it's good enough. I think I like it. So 9 out of 10. As far as accessories go, we do have the lion shield thingy on his arm, which can be removed and replaced with and then attached to his giant shield thing, which is somewhat difficult for him to use because of the posability on this figure. You can't rotate the arm forward, so you always have the shield at sort of an angle if you actually want to connect it to him. So that's definitely going to be a problem. You do get the little plates for putting on the bottom of the shield so that it stands straight up and down, which is nice, but unless you just have it like that and him standing behind it, which I guess you could do, if you actually connect it to his arm, it's always at kind of an angle, and that's not a great thing. I mean, it would have been difficult for them to put a swivel in there, but that's not my problem, that's theirs. So it's not the best situation, but it is well enough done. I would have preferred it to be a little bit more transparent, but it still looks pretty good overall, better than I thought they were going to do, so I'll give them a little bit of credit there. And then we do get his hammer, which is pretty nicely detailed. It looks just like the rest of his body, which is mostly silver with some grays and some blacks and things. It's pretty nice. And that's it. I do wish we got like a swoosh effect for his hammer, because he does swing his hammer quite a lot, and he does have the various moves where he, pounds the ground or throws out the little fire blast thingy. Those would have been nice accessories. The big shield, I get that that's kind of what REINHARDT's known for, but at the same time, as far as an accessory goes, it kind of blows. You can't really use it effectively, so I wouldn't have minded not having that, honestly, but that's a completely personal opinion, so that's up to you to decide what you want. So my take on the accessories, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's good enough, but nothing crazily good. As far as articulation goes, the head's on a ball peg, maybe a double. It feels like a single, but it moves around nicely. Definitely enough for what it is. I mean, it's a little tiny head inside all this armor, and you get good enough range out of it. I like it. I'm pleased. For the shoulders, these guys are on hinges. Can I pop it off? I was hoping I could pop it off, but I can't. They connect right here and on the opposite side on the back. So They move like that, independent of the arms. I mean, well, they're connected to the arms, but they don't have to go with them. So you can raise the arm up nicely. Not a ton, but as much as is reasonable. I mean, this is still just plastic. We're not allowed to clip and things like that like in video games, so that's alright. You do get full rotation, so that's good. You do get a standard bicep swivel, which works nicely. Single jointed elbow. Gives you a little bit less than 90 degrees. I feel like they could have probably worked in better range, but didn't want to because they figured they could get away with it, which is kind of what Hasbro does for everything. You do get a wrist swivel and a hinge, which is gross. I don't know why they did that. The way they did the hinge is just, what the hell? Yeah, I don't like that. And that's it. That's why we have the problem with the shield, because you don't have that much articulation below the bicep, so that's kind of a bummer. For the torso, it's just a ball peg. I don't think it's a double. It feels like a single. So you do get some rotation, but due to the sculpt, very minimal. So it's mostly just leaning side to side. It doesn't lean forward and back very much. You get a little bit, not a lot. Oh, there we go. Hey, it was stuck, I guess. You get full rotation. All right, that's cool. It felt like it wasn't going to go, but now it's going. So better rotation. That's awesome. We do have a hinge for his crotch. I guess that's, never mind, not making that joke. So if you want to move the legs, that won't get in the way, and if you want to move the legs, they're really floppy, and he's so heavy that that's a huge problem. So that sucks. It feels like they're just on a ball peg, like your average Marvel Legends joint, but I can't get in there to see. You do get a thigh swivel, bringing the legs forward. You can't really do it anyway, so the erect crotch piece doesn't really make a difference. Going out to the side is minimal. All around the hips suck. Minimal range, and they're floppy. If they're going to be that crappy at posing, they should have just not made them posable. Just put a swivel on there so that it can support the weight. That way you can just adjust him a little bit. So yeah, the hips are a problem. He tends to want to do the splits when you're trying to pose him. That really blows. For the knees, we do have a double jointed knee. So you can do this. Bring the whole knee back like that, and it creates this gap right here, which is okay. Or you can just do this, which brings the whole knee back and creates this giant gap, which is ugly as sin. It's like they didn't try at all. It's one of the ugliest, worst knee joints I think I've ever seen ever. Out of all the things I've seen, guys, and I've reviewed thousands and thousands of figures. That's one of the worst knee joints ever. Luckily, you can't pose his legs enough to use it, so I guess there's some saving grace there. For the ankles, we just have a giant hinge, which is okay. Doesn't go very far forward, goes pretty far back. And then you get a swivel for your ankle rocker. But look what they did with the feet. The neutral pose sticks him out like 15 degrees to the side. So he's got a really weird stance. And then when you use the ankle rocker, it's even weirder. So I don't know what they were thinking. Why would you sculpt? Like, yeah, I know some people's feet stick out to the side, but that's not the natural design of humans. The natural design is everything to be lined up, facing forward. So that's a really weird angle. I don't know, guys. That's kind of weird. It's not super noticeable once he's standing there, but it's still something to mention. So articulation-wise on this guy, it's better in the shoulders than I expected. In fact, the shoulders are the best part. So I don't know. I'll give it a 7 just because it could have been a lot worse. But from the waist down, it really blows. From the waist up, or at least from the waist and elbows up, it's pretty solid. Yeah, so it's not great. I'm trying to be nice here because it does look, I mean, like, it's just such a fun figure to have. But I don't know. It's not great in terms of articulation. Okay, so final verdict on this guy. Is it as big as it should be? Probably not. I think definitely not, but I'll have to check because I haven't checked ahead of time. I didn't realize he was as small as he was until I got this guy out, and he looks quite small. So yeah, it's not at all what I was hoping it could be, but it's also not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So I feel very neutral on this guy, and it does have the overall right aesthetic. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely good enough. It's not gonna impress you other than the sheer size and because REINHARDT's a badass design, but it's not gonna be like, as far as an action figure goes, it's not particularly good. It's just good enough. So there it is, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, you probably should do so because I have new videos out just about every single day and thousands of reviews already on the channel waiting for you and organized into convenient playlists. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.